Well, I think if you look at the recent reports from various polling firms, clearly a majority of Americans believe that no single district judge should be allowed to issue a nationwide injunction. And I think that when you look, my judgment as a historian, this is clearly a judicial coup d'etat.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the most explosive political statements made this week. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, just dropped a bombshell calling recent court rulings against Donald Trump a judicial coup d'etat. Yeah, you heard that right. He's accusing judges of trying to take over the presidency through legal rulings. So, what exactly did he say? What does this mean for the future of the American legal system and for Trump himself?
Coup d'etat.
Buckle up,
You don't
because
have
this
this
is
many different judges issuing this many different nationwide injunctions, all of them coming from the same political ideological background, and just assume it's all random efforts of justice. This is a clear effort to stop the scale of change that President Trump represents. And I agree, a lot of this stuff can be fought out. Some of it should be fought out in the Congress, but it shouldn't be micromanaging the executive branch on national security issues by random single judges who have no standing, they have no particular knowledge, they haven't been in the room, they don't know what the consequences of what they're doing are, and they put both Americans and the nation at risk when they—
Buckle up, because this is going to get intense. Let's break it down. Gingrich claimed that the multiple nationwide injunctions issued against Trump, many from judges appointed by Democrats, are a coordinated effort to stop his political movement. He called it a judicial coup d'etat, accusing judges of acting like alternative presidents by blocking executive decisions. Gingrich says this undermines the presidency, the Constitution, and puts America at risk. So what's the deal with these injunctions? A nationwide injunction means a single district judge can block a federal policy across the entire country. It's a powerful tool, but controversial. Gingrich argues that this power has been weaponized, especially against Trump-era policies.
When they
He says judges
to become basically alternative presidents. You now have potentially 677 alternative presidents, none of whom won an election.
Well, we all believe in due process. Every injured party should have access to the courts, and they do. The question is whether a single district court can go beyond the case before them and apply the same decision to others whose cases are not before the court in jurisdictions that go far beyond their own. Mr. Gingrich, you've pointed out that there are several ways to address this. One is congressional action. The other is the Supreme Court putting its own house in order. In fact, the Alito dissent recently suggests that there are at least 4 of the justices who very much want to do this. It seems to me that's the cleanest and most surgical route, assuring that the rule is done from within the court and not imposed by legislation. What are your views on what the Supreme Court should do and on what you already mentioned what we should do?
Look, I think the Chief Justice would achieve far more for judicial independence if he cleaned up his own judiciary rather than lecturing the rest of us. And I think there are ways he could intervene, as I mentioned in my testimony. They could establish a rule that any nationwide injunction issued by a district court will be held in abeyance and will be immediately appealed to the Supreme Court.
He says judges are stepping beyond their legal authority, reshaping the law to match political ideologies. Gingrich warns that this judicial overreach creates chaos. Imagine 600-plus federal judges, all with the ability to override the president based on their personal or political views. He claims these actions weaken national security, confuse policy implementation, and destroy the balance of powers set by the Constitution. His message: if we don't stop this now, the courts could become the real seat of power in Washington. Gingrich didn't stop at criticism. He proposed solutions, calling on the Supreme Court to rein in lower courts. He wants the Chief Justice to create a rule that would freeze nationwide injunctions until they're reviewed at the highest level. He even invoked—
Lincoln makes this case. Very head-on fight, which is ironic because Chief Justice Taney, as Attorney General for Jackson, had ruled against the courts and had said as Attorney General, the courts cannot order the president. Now, he then becomes Chief Justice, extends slavery potentially to the whole country, and is lectured by Lincoln in his first inaugural as Taney sits there. And Lincoln is essentially saying, this was the law of the case, not the land, and we will not enforce it. And they don't. They never enforce Dred Scott. And so I think Chief Justice should think seriously about intervening to preempt any requirement for something such as Chairman Iss's bill, which I support strongly, but would be no reason to have it if the Chief Justice did his job.
Thank you.
Level.
Thank the gentleman.
He even invoked Abraham Lincoln, pointing to historical moments where presidents ignored court rulings they believed were unconstitutional. Gingrich argues that the judiciary needs reform, fast, or risk becoming the most powerful unelected force in government. Before we jump into our final segment, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want more in-depth political analysis, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. This isn't just about Trump or one party, it's about the future of how American democracy works. Who holds the real power, the people who win elections, or the judges who interpret the law?
We'll now go in,
Whether you agree
in order, out of order, in order to give Mr. McClintock the first round of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The ranking member offers us an example of an upstanding, law-abiding Marylander in the case of Brego Garcia. As Mr. Ice has said, Mr. Garcia has been identified as a member of MS-13, the most violent criminal gang on the planet, and there's one report just published that he's implicated in human trafficking in this country. Not exactly Rotary Club material, I think. But shouldn't the circumstances of his case be examined in an individual action before a district court and not dumped into a far-reaching edict arising from another case that has very different circumstances? Mr. Larkin, what's your opinion of that? Your microphone.
How about now? My mistake, sorry. My understanding is these actions that have been challenged under the Administrative Procedure Act, not as actions seeking federal habeas corpus relief. Federal habeas corpus is the traditional remedy that someone uses when they're claiming the government has unjustly seized them. There's even a provision for next friends.
And that option exists in law, and I think that that's the appropriate option, is it not?
The Administrative Procedure Act is not.
Yes.
For example, you can't use Section 1983 to challenge the legitimacy of your conviction. You have to use the Habeas Corpus Act.
Right.
So
Well, again, these are individual cases with very different individual circumstances and ought to be
that's right. I mean, what you have, a particular John Doe, number 1, 2, 3, whatever. Each case has to be examined separately, but it should be in habeas corpus, not the Administrative Procedure Act.
Mr. Gingrich, I'm told that 92% of the judges who've issued blanket injunctions against the administration have been appointed by Democrats. That at least suggests a rather partisan tilt to all this, and it's not being done even-handedly. What's your view of that? Doesn't that undermine public confidence in our courts?
Well, I think if you look at the...
Whether you agree with Gingrich or not, his warning raises serious questions about judicial activism, separation of powers, and the future role of courts in shaping policy. And with the 2024 election still making waves, this debate is far from over. So what do you think? Is Gingrich right? Is this a judicial coup? Or is he just defending Trump by attacking the courts? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you found this video insightful, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that cuts through the noise. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.